When it's time to lacquer, take your piece into the room. Keep the gun about 6 inches away from what you're spraying. And there are two settings on the gun, one for air and one for lacquer. So you need to pull the trigger all the way. It's either on or off. When I spray the edges of things, it's a smaller area, so I actually spray closer than the 6 inches. But remember, you have to go faster the closer you are. Now when I do a face, I stay the 6 to 8 inches away and slow down a little bit to get an even spray. Again, a little closer on the edges. Remember to keep the distance the same all the way through. And then a little further away on the face and go a little bit slower, overlapping your spray. Before I spray anything, I always check, do I feel any sharp areas? If I do, I sand them first. Open the doors, and you always want to begin from the inside and work your way out. Remember as you spray to always overlap the spraying so that it has an even coat. If you're forced to switch direction with the trigger pulled, make sure you don't stop for longer than just a split second. Otherwise you're going to get drips. Next, hit the inside of any doors and any areas that are covered up when the doors are shut. Now get the outside of the doors, shut them, and then do the rest of your project. Remembering the same keys that we went over. Overlapping each time, taking your time, and keeping the gun perpendicular to your work, overlapping every single stroke. As you do the sides, you can either go vertical or horizontal. It doesn't matter as long as the strokes are overlapped. When you finish, it should look like flat and wet, not drippy at all. At the very end, do the top. You always want to save it for last just in case something falls on top of it. Make nice even strokes and make it look really nice when you're done.
At this point, you're pretty much finished with your project. You've got one clear coat of lacquer on it. It probably feels somewhat rough. Depending on how good of a sanding job you did, it'll feel smoother or rougher. But either way, you've got to sand it down with one of these sponge sanders. This is 220 grit sandpaper, and it's meant to be able to squish into all of the contours of your project. Simply press it in and sand. But it really only takes very little time to do this. So sand it down, going about this fast. And now the lid is pretty much done, and that's all you have to do. You're just knocking off the high points of the lacquer. Once you finish sanding, if you are only wanting another coat of lacquer, simply repeat the process that you just saw and you're done. You don't need to sand it anymore. If there are any high spots that are rough, you can, but you normally don't have to. In my case, I'm going to be coloring this whole project black. I wanted black lacquer to match some other furniture that I had. And I'm going to be rubbing it through, making it look a little bit older. So if you have an interest in seeing that, go ahead and watch the next video. But after your second coat of lacquer, put on some hardware, and you're done and ready for a grade.